our time.
And then second main? I don't have an idea. I have an idea, but I don't have any figures.
Of course, the second maybe it's Polsha, because this
EU?
because this country is near.
Poland.
It's near
Maybe.
Poland because it's near the Ukraine.
Okay, thank you very much.
May I ask some questions? What do you think what will happen to Ukrainian exchange rate if the interest rate in Ukraine will decrease?
If interest rates will decrease, so the NBU can give more credit to a national producer. So this producer will put this money for production. So this production can give the high level taxes for government and the country. So the economy inside the country will be stronger, and so the currency exchange will be decreased.
Will decrease?
The currency exchange level will decrease, and the hryvnia becomes stronger.
Okay. And what will happen if if the interest rate, for example, in USA decreases in comparison to Ukrainian interest rate?
I think the situation in USA become more powerful, maybe more possible than in Ukraine. So,
what will happen to Ukrainian exchange rate?
Exchange rate.
Okay, it's a difficult question.
I understand. So, in US, we will see decrease of US dollars, and their dollars become stronger. So I think our hryvnia become more poor because our currency exchange rate will be increased. So the relationship between the currency exchange rate in the US and Ukraine will be interconnected, but something inversely, because if US dollar becomes stronger, so our Ukrainian hryvnias become poor.
Let me present you our next participant, Sabina Vechnyakova, and the topic of her research is devoted to the Ukrainian stock market. So you are welcome.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sabina Vechnyakova, and I'm going to present my essay, The Ukrainian Stock Market, in which I answer the question how the Ukrainian stock market has changed during the last 10 years and what will its prospective development be in the nearest future. So, the structure of my presentation is follows. At first, I'm going to explain the approach taken when analyzing the subject of the research. Then I will illustrate the performance of the Ukrainian stock market during a decade using comparative and diagnostic function of the PFTS index. And finally, I will make forecasts for the stock market nearest future.
Oh, that's interesting. You're going to trade.
So, the Ukrainian stock market, it's a new dynamical development market. For national economy, it's a civilized mechanism of attraction potential investors to our country. For investors, it's a major source of reliable information for making decisions as to investment opportunities. So the issue under research is topical for the national economy and for the stock market key players. Having overviewed the global stock indices, we focused on the PFTS index, Ukrainian index, and its function to describe the Ukrainian 10-year development period and to give some implication for the stock market near future. The research has been carried out applying the mathematical extrapolation, comparative analysis, and technical analysis. These slides present the performance profile of the PFTS index in period 2000 and 2009. This graph can be divided into 5 stages. First, 2004, it's a slow progressive development. 2005-2006, moderate growth. 2007, intensive growth. 2008, rapid fall. And 2009-2010, recovery growth. The next stage of analysis is to compare the performance of the PFTS index and the nature of change the world's most famous stock indices. In my essay, we used the PFTS Ukrainian index, FTS UK index, Standard & Poor's US index, RTS Russian index, DAX German index, and Japan index Nikkei. This graph presents the performance profile of the PFTS index, Standard & Poor's, and the last one, FTS index within the last 10 years. Comparison between these indices show the level of national economy integration into the world economy and to prove a close relationships in the development of world stock markets. In this section, we wanted to show how the prognostic function of the indices can be used in practice. Using the method of mathematical extrapolation, we made forecast. This method lies in finding the function that the best describe the behavior of all indicators in time series. So we made a forecast only for the next 4 days because it can be productively only in short term. So we understand that this forecast can be interesting only for small private investors and traditional stock market players. Strategic investors are interested in more fundamental studies of status and performance of the Ukrainian stock market. So, by analyzing the world practice in applying stock indices for the stock market evaluation, by evaluating the Ukrainian stock market 10-year development by means of the PFTS index analysis, and forecasting the trends and tendencies of the stock market movement, we showed how the Ukrainian stock market has changed during the last 10 years and what will its prospective development be in the nearest future. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. So, actually, one hint, and then I saw a formula on your slides. And if I see formulas, you know, then I'm always going to ask. One hint is that if you are going to work in a investment bank in UK in the future, it is called FTSE. Funny, but it's not FTSE, but FTSE. I don't know why, but the bankers say just FTSE. And then there was a formula on your slide, on the next one. So, what do you do there?
I have a part of FTS index, PFTS index in Ukraine. It was historic quantitative forecast because it's based on historical data. I gave you first of all this slide because it's part of big graph. This graph you can see in my 13 page of essay. I did this part to show which data I gave to the forecast, and this function is the coefficient of determination square. It's helped me to forecast. It's a source of mathematical extrapolation. And the next slide shows.
But this is the function. How did you estimate the function?
Function x squared.
No, r square is, as you mentioned, the coefficient of determination, and it measures deviations from the function. So if there's no deviation from the function, the r square will be. What is the maximum? Do you know?
1.
Yes. And the minimum? Do you know?
0.
0. Yes. So if every single point is on the function, then the r square would be 1. But you first of all need the function, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the function, where does it come? It's estimated. It's the least square estimation. It's not a linear regression, obviously. It's a quadratic regression.
Yes. If I understand, you answer me why it's so.
But why? Why do you use? That is my question behind that. Why do you use a quadratic regression?
Because in my essay I wanted to show how the forecasting function of indices can be used in practice, and for me, in my situation, because I haven't so much time, it was the most useful method, and I can do only this.
Yeah, it was not a critique, not at all. It was just a question, because if you use a linear regression, it's more simple than a quadratic regression.
I read literature and articles where wrote about this function and about this forecast.
Can you describe a bit more the Ukrainian stock market, please? So your index consists of 20 stocks. Is it changing or increasing? I don't have a good feeling.
Yes.
I don't have good information about the Ukrainian stock market.
Ukrainian stock market, the most important index in Ukrainian stock market is PFTS. Ukrainian, it includes 20 companies from the different branches of economy. These companies can be changed, but that's all time it can be 20. Actually, we have two indices in our country, UA and UB and UAI. UB include 15 companies from the different branches of economy, and UAI include 500 companies. In my slide comparison between indices, I show that our index PFTS, and actually our stock market have the same way like the index of UK and index of US, and when it was rise and when it was rapid fall, our index rapid fall too in 2008, and our index is the same like in the world.
And then I have one more final question. It is related to the performance graph, where you have this performance of FTSE and PFTS and S&P 500, exactly. So it seems that this UK index is the most volatile, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because it includes more companies and more companies, and because of it, it's.
I'm smiling a bit because do you really think that if an index that consists of more stocks should be more volatile or less volatile? What do you think?
No, but.
No, if I'm asking the question in that way, then maybe
yes, you ask.
you change your answer.